His application to the state is due June 10th, and then they'll award tax credits in August. But I can tell you it's a very competitive program. They end up maybe awarding half of the applications they get. So it will only be, of course, if it turns out that he gets the workforce housing tax credits and he moves forward with the project, of course. But a requirement of his application is he's got to have this resolution, which is why he's in front of you today.
One thing too, while we're here, I assume at some point, if you're high on the Senate, you'll probably be saying something, but another program the state came out with last year was this thriving community.
Mhm.
Being designated as a thriving community for the smaller towns. On the workforce housing tax credit, as well as other programs the state has. You get bonus points if the
Mhm.
community is in these different programs as far as getting these dollars into the community to be used. So would encourage you guys as he brings different stuff like that forward. It's a big deal because you get 1 or 2 bonus points out of that towards these, and they're all point driven. So and Anamosa's got a lot of stuff going on the last few years to where to easily be able to score good, to become a thriving community designation. So
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Further council discussion and questions?
Just curious one. This program is for 20 houses in that area specific. How many would that area hold
it's 20
in that one area?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell when I walked by.
Yeah, I think he had the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did, but you know,
But yeah, no,
I'm a walker, you know, I had to walk it.
you don't walk up there today.
I
The
was-
the last 2 weeks, it's been muddy.
I know, but today it wasn't.
Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty sight and it's cleaned up and.
Look at-
Honestly, the Cuba family was selected when they were selling the property because they wanted to see something done with it instead of. So we do owe a thank this community, we owe a thanks to the family for really wanting to see. You know, something happen there instead of it just having the old house fixed up and kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
So that's why we put on the plat, named the street after the family, just because they didn't have a designation, they wanted it to be, you know, something better for the city, so it was pretty cool.
It is.
So the motion before council, just to recap, is for 20,000 and the commitment of the 20,000. Which equates to 1,000 per house structure. Contingent upon program approval. And that Bryce carries forward with the project. Anything additional from council? Any public comment? Penny, would you conduct a roll vote, please?
Kate,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Delbert,
Yes.
Trump,
Yes.
Wyman,
Yes. Motion carried. Good luck with this, Bryce.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have an update for you in August.
Yes.
Good luck.
Thank you.
It's a good place to walk in the meantime.
Yeah, it's really cool with it being right across from the school.
Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty cool. Hopefully we can get it. put
Thanks for
together.
coming to provide clarification.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
7.6, review and approve purchase of replacement mower in the amount of 14,700 Shane Brown Streets.
Good evening, Shane Burrell, Street Superintendent. I'm standing in front of you, requesting to replace a lawnmower that took a tumble. Nobody got hurt. But the lawnmower is definitely not fixable. I went with the John Deere because Simplicity does not make a small, close to the ground four-wheel drive tractor anymore, or nor a diesel. The John Deere's been a good tractor for us. And, we're just gonna go to to a newer one to replace it. It gets around a lot better than the 1023s do in the cemetery and tight spots. Lot quicker, more efficient. This week and last week I was down a zero turn and a tractor, which made it tough. I borrowed a zero turn from the wastewater plant, but they had to use it first. So I was down a half a day without somebody on a mower. We use that 758 every other day. It's got a ton of hours on it. That's why it has a ton of hours on it. It's just unfortunate that it went down the hill on its top. I know that money is tight. I had also budgeted for this a year ago and was going to run the season and just repair it as we could. But the repairs now for this is more than the tractor is worth. The frame is bent, broke, and twisted. The motor is shooting oil out of spots that's not supposed to shoot out. So we're gonna have to put a motor on it. The deck is twisted. The hood is laying there in pieces. So we thought this was the better bet. And then we're getting a new machine. And then when the old machine decides to go, we can move the cab from it over to this one.
You didn't have insurance on it, Shane?
No, so that went back to, I believe, Michon. I can't say that for sure, but I give City Hall a copy of everything that we own every 3 or 6 months. And they go through it and make sure we have insurance. But I'm going back to Michon because there was a, time she said she was gonna cut a few things to save insurance money. And I don't know if that's what happened. I can't say for sure, but that was a conversation we had when she was here.
Maybe check the serial number to see if that covered.
It does not have coverage.
So since then, have we checked all of our equipment
Yes.
to make sure we're up to date on everything else?
Yep,
Okay.
we are.
Have we gone back to see what we don't have covered now that we know this?
Yep.
So do we know when we lost or when we let our coverage lapse?
That we don't know. We found probably 6 to 8 pieces of equipment. Couldn't really identify a pattern to them either. Some of them were older. I would hate to think that we had went all that time without it, but we could have also. I don't know.
6 covered.
Yes.
We have 10 mowers, right? Plus this one. Yes.
I don't.
The city. Does, right?
Yeah, we have a couple that are being repaired or down currently, but I believe it not including push mowers, riding equipment.
I'm just curious about the fact of it tipping, whatever. Was somebody being a little negligent or? was
No, I don't think so. It
a
was,
malfunction with the mower?
I think it was a malfunction the way, it looks like to me, just from the way the accident scene was, that the back end kicked out from underneath of him and the four-wheel drive caught, and that's what flung it. Like I said, he didn't get seriously hurt, so I am very excited because that phone call is not one you want to get.
So do we have any of the mower? I know you said you had budgeted for this. But do we have any mowers that are next in line to have to be replaced sooner rather than later? And if so, what do we got going as far as identifying those?
I just have one more that needs to go and it's a zero turn. It's a 2010.
So talking about replacing in the next 1 year, 5 years, what,
When the council said they'd like to see it die, so we're gonna run it till she blows.
Okay.
It would be just this one on this year's budget yet.
the 2024 budget or?
Hmm.
I'll tell you, Shane, I got some major concerns with this because I can tell you why. I had 4 zero radius mowers and I'm mowing 80 some accounts. One was 14 acres. And I ran them for years. And I didn't have to trade them or get rid of them.
We're putting on 150, 200 hours on them a year.
I was putting 1,500 out.
I didn't want to trade this. I was gonna trade it to freshen up the decks and this and that. But this person that was on the mower did not mean to roll it down the hill and possibly kill himself. So I'm just trying to replace it so I can do the mowing efficiently. So we're not sitting on a mower all week and we can change oil in the squad cars, do projects for the LCC and stuff.
Well, hear me out. When I first started, there were 2 retired guys with 455 John Deere tractors. And they mowed everything and got it done. And we had twice the equipment and probably 3 more people than that. And you're telling me it's taking all week.
Well, when it rains, it takes all week. But it's up to you guys. I'm just going to be not as efficient. We've already been just dragging. I feel like the boat's going backwards with the rain, the mowing, the weed eating. If we had that tractor, we've probably been a day ahead. I had a zero turn down too, so that didn't help either. The oldest one.
The,
And now you mow the arboretum too, right?
No, we mow the roundabout, the sidewalk out to it, and a little past. We have all that.
But not the arboretum?
Nope, that's the LCC. There's a lot there to mow too.
this was a 4-wheel drive, you stated,
Yes, 4-wheel drive diesel.
is, how many 4-wheel drives do you have in your? 2?
3, it would have been the 4th one.
All 4 of those are utilized in the cemetery.
Yep, and at the fire station, Second Street lift station, right there across from Tapkins on the dikes.
But you don't, I guess, let me rephrase the question. Do you use all 4 simultaneously
Yep,
in the cemetery?
yes. We all go there, we can knock it out pretty fast. We don't all go there, it's 3 days. And I don't want them out there by themselves anyway.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, you did, I guess, bid hunt on some used equipment.
Yep,
None of that was the local area. What was the,
Jeremiah found those and I found some up in Canada. We were just trying to have a price comparison of what local and what it would be out, but with a used one, you don't get the state bid.
but there was no, I don't recall any.
Illinois, I think.
Yeah.
So we'd have to
Fulton was
travel to get it.
closest. So no one else in a
I went on
mile
a,
radius had used.
no, and actually Monticello has one. It's at Raleigh, Iowa. They didn't sell it. So we could have it by Wednesday, he said.
With the budget being as tight as it is, I'd like to think that we could get by this year with what we have. Yeah, you have the money earmarked, but there might be something else pop up too. We don't know.
Well, if it's part of your current budget, correct?
Mhm.
So you're looking at a month and a half on this current budget.
Right. Which is sitting there. There's 20,000 sitting there. That's 100% not used.
And you're under budget on more than 20,000
I'm under budget on everything.
at this point in time.
Yep.
So come out of, if approved, it would come out of the 2023-2024 budget, not
Correct.
24.
Correct. So there's only basically a month and a half to go on it.
We have any other equipment concerns, Shane, that you have your eye on that we have to be concerned about in the next 60 days taking a crap on us? I realize that.
I'm knocking on wood at this point.
Well, and unfortunately, we wouldn't be here right now if this one hadn't taken a tumble.
Right.
Right, and I'm,
You know, that's the unfortunate, you don't know those things.
I just mean you've got other equipment that you're driving along and you start to hear something squeak and squeal and.
No, we're sitting really good. I'm hoping my run of 3 is done. I had a week.
Bubble wrap around this.
So here's another thought, guys. We had a drop, what, the last 4 years? Say we're not gonna have another. Yeah, you could walk across the lot.
I thought you said drop. I think she had drought.
Can you maybe brief the council, what would be your estimation is the difference? Mowing the cemetery with 3 4-wheel drive mowers versus 4.
An extra 2 hours. But then you're just in the cemeteries, 2.5 hours of difference. And then out and about, you're looking at a 4-hour difference.
I think that would fall under coordination. You know, your focus for, I don't know, what do you gotta figure, 2 days is the cemetery. And then you can begin to transition into some of the other outlying areas.
Well, in the cemetery, do you use any zero turns down there
We do for some of it.
on the flats?
And some of the new lawnmowers will hold the hills, but it's gotta be dry. But there's still 90% 4-wheel drive tractors.
Can even be dry condition wise, but with grass, the moisture content that it holds, you know, the blades of grass still become slick, so I understand that.
I mean, I'd love to have 2 more zero turns, but we got enough as long as the old one stays together to do the little stuff, but then it's just 4-wheel drives that have to take over and do the rest.
So Shane. You said 2 extra hours without a person riding the four-wheel out of the
Yep.
cemetery. And 4 for the other, like the fire department, dike, and the Second Street lift station.
And out at the roundabout
So.
and the
person-
body.
So the person that would normally be mowing on that mower, what? If we don't have a mower for that person, what are they doing within the department?
They could weed eat, but I don't like that either, because then it's just one person weed eating. You know, we can keep a guy in the sweeper, but that's costing you money because we're using fuel. We're
But we're cleaning streets.
cleaning the streets,
Yeah,
And I don't know if you can put a price
but
on.
you can't,
and you're doing that
right.
anyway.
I just like to get the grass mowed so we're done, so we can do the, like, whatever the LCC needs or whatever the wastewater department needs, whatever the police department needs. You know, we're changing oil and that stuff. We can't get a guy loose because we're stuck on a mower. And we gotta paint streets yet? With all this rain? I don't know how that's gonna go.
What are some of the tasks you do for the LCC?
We're taking some fence down. We gotta haul some lime. They just got odds and ends sometimes.
Well, I'm all in favor of keeping the cemetery looking as neat as possible.
I just had a guy from Monticello. He goes to the council meetings and they have one guy to do the whole cemetery over there and it's not getting done. And the people are complaining. And he's one of them. He talked to me the other day and he said how nice our cemetery looks. Cause his family's out there. And he said I'd never be buried over there because the grass would be tall enough for cows. And we don't want, we want it to look nice.
That- that- Go ahead and get the mower we're talking about today. It can be here this Wednesday, 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got Memorial Day weekend coming up. And lots of people are gonna be going to the cemetery. Looking nice.
And it makes a really big difference when they look nice. I've been to 22 different ones in 3 states in the last 10 days, and you remember the ones that look nice.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase.
I'll second.
Motion by Rich, second by Todd. Council discussion.
Is better than any of the used ones cost wise.
Yeah, for a few $1,000s more, you're getting new with warranty versus someone else's toothache.
I do agree with Dan that we gotta make sure we've got good equipment. I understand what his concerns are, but I do think that we're gonna end up replacing a mower eventually. And if it's in the budget this year and Shane's under budget at this point, I think it probably moving forward is a good idea. But please, at 5 minutes after that mower lands in your shop, you're on the phone to Jeremiah to make sure we got insurance on it.
And I wonder, do we get a little bit better rate on new versus used when it comes to insurance rates?
That I'm not aware of. I guess I haven't asked that specific question.
Could be valued.
So yes, Shane Brown again, street superintendent. So they took, $31.99 off of the new tractor. And they took, $739 off of the mower discs for the new one. So that's state bid. So the tractor would have been 15,799, and they took the 3 off, so it made it 12,600. And then the mower deck was 2839, 44. They took 739 off, which got it to 21. So then my total was that 700.
Shane, what are we doing with if this gets approved, obviously, what are we doing with the carcass of the old one?
Well, we're gonna go get it. It's sitting at John Deere and we're just gonna probably throw it away in our dumpster.
Anything that can be.
Well, we're gonna
parked off?
look at it, but we're not saving the deck. The deck is twisted. We might save a few parts off of it, but I don't know how much we can really save. I kind of looked at it a little better in the light. The 2 front wheels are both bent. We might be able to salvage a back tire, yeah, or at least the tires, you know.
I'm just
one
wondering
tire.
if there's like selling it to somebody for scrap and at least getting some,
Yeah,
I mean, it's not gonna be much, I realize, but
I was just gonna sell for scrap. We're gonna take off, drain it and take off what we think we can use. And I thought we'd keep the back tires because they're kind of a pricey to replace, just the tire itself.
Depending on what you got, you probably got maybe some blades, belts, not much else, maybe. The tires,
The front tires are junk.
maybe the seat.
No, the seat is gone.
Seat's gone too?
Yeah,
Okay.
steering wheel, the seat.
Okay,
Yeah, she's in pretty bad shape.
so not much left.
She took a pretty good tumble.
Okay,
how many hours was on that, do you know?
16 or 1700.
Before that leaves, I'd like to see it, just so I can see it.
Okay.
The other thing is I'm wondering, what is it costing us to mow this cemetery every year? Do we have any idea? And you know how many hours it takes?
Yeah, takes 6.5 hours to mow it with everybody. Well, with our mow, it takes 6.5 hours to weed eat it. And I got 3 bids between the time that Jeremiah was in and Michonne was in, and everybody was over 85,000 plus.
well, and you had some that wouldn't even bid it. right?
I had some that said, hang the phone up, we're not gonna take it.
I bet you by the time you pay people, insurance, equipment, you're right at 85 or better.
Very well could be.
Well, I had a guy bid it, or
Who did it? Can I ask?
Merrill,
Well,
Jeff Menger.
think, and I appreciate you raising the question, Brooke, but we're a little off subject here on whether we purchase this mower or not. This is conversation that can be researched and make its way to an agenda as an agenda item in the future. I'd like to stay on track here with the motion on the floor. Is there any other questions about in relationship to the purchasing of this mower? Is there any public comment? Before I go to a vote, I just ask council to take into consideration as you're casting, you're in favor or oppose, that there's a 2-hour differential on one mower. Penny, would you conduct a roll vote, please?
No.
No.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes,
So after the council's vote, there's 3 in favor, 2 opposed. That constitutes a majority and the motion carries. 7.7, review and approve authorization to proceed with plans to test communications antenna and finalize water tower co-location agreement between City of Anamosa and Jones County E911 Service Board.
For this item, Todd had approached me earlier, just before the meeting and said he may have some additional information. And I guess if Gary, has some, he's here with us as well tonight. They can also make sure I'm in check here and have this information, correctly, relayed. Essentially, we've had all of our internal people and HR Green take a look at everything with this. I've been in communication with the E911 folks, and everybody's in agreement that I think we can proceed, but they did want to do some testing. And the agreement that's in the packet is not the final agreement, but it's one that can be amended and would look very similar to that. So I think that's kind of where we are. Am I missing anything, gentlemen, that?
I'm gonna let Gary talk first because he's much more knowledgeable, but I'll throw my last.
I'm Gary Schwab. I'm the 911 coordinator for Jones County. So if there's any questions, basically, we've had an issue since Jones Regional expanded, being able to get communications into the emergency department. And then we've also had some issues with the ambulance service, trying to get communications to them. So right now, our repeaters for fire and EMS are on the courthouse. So we've been looking at what would be an alternative. Where could we get someplace that potentially we get a better signal into the hospital? What the hospital wants to see is what they're after is when an ambulance goes out or a fire crew's out, they have emergency calls. They can't hear some of the traffic, so they don't know. If they could hear the traffic, then they could be better prepared to set up for any emergency action that they may need to take. So we've been looking at different locations, and your South Water Tower there on Tower Drive looks to be an excellent position for where we could set up a system. Basically set up our 2 repeaters with an antenna. I don't know if we got looks like you've got some drawings on all the equipment that would be added into the tower. This is completely and totally on the 911 service board's dime. Roughly, we're looking at somewhere in the vicinity of $57,000. There would be nothing that the city would have to provide other than giving us access, giving our RC Communications, who does our communications work, access to put that equipment on the tower. We also think that we want to do this test just to make sure before we go ahead and spend that kind of money putting equipment in there, to make sure that, yes, yea, verily, that having that system up there would in fact allow us the height and the closeness to drive that signal into the emergency department. So here again, we got to do that test. If the test doesn't pan out, then we wouldn't go any further. Well, at this point, I guess if there's any questions, I'm sure try to answer.
So stay there because
Sure.
I'm bound to say something that may not make a lot of sense. I met with Greg Grover today. He is he's doing fire department training, I think, up in Monticello tonight. But I talked to him, and I'm not going to try to display this drawing, but he dummied it down for me, how we're talking about. And so I kind of understand it. We all know Anamosa has kind of been a little bit of a bowl. The water tower is a high point. Right now, as I understand it, one of the difficulties that the hospital has is that right now, if they're in the hospital using like a walkie-talkie, that tower that it goes to is tower on top of the courthouse, and then it goes out to the Amber Tower, and that's when it gets distributed. If we put, and Greg also mentioned that if he's in the courthouse in his office, if he walks 15 feet deeper into the courthouse, he loses signal. And they've worked on trying to getting that figured out. And I think they've more or less gotten that corrected.
For law enforcement inside the courthouse, we put repeaters inside the courthouse to take care of that issue.
So if we put this, if we agree to let this be put on our water tower, the signal from the hospital will go directly to the water tower, then to Amber to be dispersed. It does not have to go through the courthouse
Mhm.
antenna, but Greg had suggested that if we approve this conditioned upon this radio test that they have to do to see if it's going to work, that if we condition our approval upon that radio test demonstrating an improvement in the signal strength, that then we would be agreeing to move forward with it. Greg is going to get with,
It's Terry Harris, RC Communications.
yes, they were gonna do it last week, but there was a family situation that came up, so he is going to try to get that done this week. I had suggested that what we could do tonight, if the council approves it, we would agree to it with that condition, but we put it on the agenda for the May 28th meeting, because he thinks that the condition will be met by that point. We'll either know, yes, it's gonna fix it, or no, it's not, we won't move forward with it, so we would have our answer, I think, within the next couple of weeks.
Right.
One of the other issues that is part of why this needed to get on the meeting again tonight is once the agreement gets put in place, there is an application process that involves the application for the microwave system that needs to be in place that can take up to 12 weeks to get approved, which puts us at the end of the summer before it's going to be done.
Correct.
My understanding is that that what is going to be placed at the water center inside the tower is a cabinet a little bit, I think about the size of the podium there, maybe a little taller, for the radio stuff that goes inside of that, but that's the space that we're talking about taking up internal to the water tower itself, but then the antenna just shows up.
Antenna on top and cables, two cables that would be running up inside. On an added benefit, I think with that increased altitude from the courthouse to that water tower would also improve our response, our communications with Anamosa Fire and ambulance services
And
right here in town.
in case nobody heard, it is not going to cost the city of Anamosa any money. It's going to cost us space and a location on the tower. So I don't know what the downside would be, but that's the information that I have from this. And if you ever get a chance and want to sit in on a meeting, Gary is very entertaining at these Thursday night meetings.
We try sometimes.
Well, it sounds like it'd be a very beneficial thing to at least test it to see if it's gonna work.
Not sure what the downside would be to us.
Yeah, well, especially if it's going to help improve EMS and everything else. To me, it's almost a no-brainer. So I'll make a motion to approve on the conditions that Todd mentioned.
Motion by Rich,
Thanks,
second by Dan. Council discussion. Public comment. So we're just providing a location, nothing additional. Contingent on if it all approves and works itself out.
That would be,
That would be the condition, as long as we can test it and make sure that that works. Then it's just a matter, we have an agreement that I think is hopefully pretty straightforward. We have equipment now on Martell Water Tower and also on Monticello Water Tower or South Water Tower. We don't have, for what it's worth, we do not have agreements in place with either one of those communities. And we've been on Martell for as long as that tower's been there. And we used to be on the North Water Tower in Monticello, and it was an outside cabinet, and we moved it inside. We've been very close getting an agreement put together, but Russ Farnham he's been tied up with other things. We just haven't been able to get set down and get the signatures in place. The service board has agreed to it and Russ says, yeah, it looks good to me, but I want to go through it one more time. So that's where we sit, so.
Greg
But,
Greg told me today he would let you know, Jeremiah, one way or the other. That's why I guess just as a follow-up, we should have it on the next meeting if we approve it today, so that we know that it's been, the condition has been met.
Well, it certainly sounds like it would enhance the 911 and provide all the various emergency entities with
our primary,
information that they
yeah.
need at that time.
and our primary responsibility is to provide the best service we can to the citizens and businesses of Jones County.
Penny, would you conduct a roll vote, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carried. 7.8, review and approve amended cemetery gravesite contract with independent contractor Troy Henry.
Just for the council's information, the costs, the agreement itself is pretty similar to our existing or the current agreement. Just due to increasing costs, for the independent contractor. Some of the weekend costs did go up slightly. It was on our end that we had requested that the terms of the contract be changed to 2 years rather than 10. Gives us flexibility within shorter period of time to negotiate if we decide if we would like to change anything, rather than lock us into a 10-year period. Other than that, the agreement is pretty much the same.
As of now.
Mhm.
Had any issues with this? I mean, have there been any problems with this particular provider?
Not to my knowledge. Last year I had the opportunity to do most of the cemetery stuff and very flexible. And I don't believe there's been any issues prior.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Todd. Council discussion.
I would just recommend, since it's a 2-year contract, that we put it on a calendar someplace so that
Forget.
we don't forget and we make sure that we're on top of it in 2 years.
Good point, Rich. Council discussion again. Public comment? Benny?
Yes.
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 Motion carried. 7.9, review and approve authorization to proceed with window replacement at the Lawrence Community Center.
I don't have a lot on this one. I think it's pretty straightforward. Was a planned and budgeted item. The park boards reviewed this and have given it the nod. And Kale just wanted to bring it up tonight to make sure everybody's good with proceeding, and the windows are pretty old. They need some attention. Trying to get that taken care of.
Move to approve.
Motion by Kay, second by Dan. Council discussion. Public comment?
Tom Durgan, downtown property owner. On that, there will be, correct me if I'm wrong, Kale. If there's any damage behind what's there, because these are replacement windows, there will be an extra cost. If, you know, if they run in any rotten materials or anything like that, just so you know. And I don't remember, you kind of give a dollar amount. Do you remember what that was per window? Yeah. And then any dams they run into. Thanks.
Kenny?
Yes.
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 Motion carried. 7.10, review and approve consent agenda. Pay request totaling $164,355.17. I will read all the items. Council then can make a motion that includes consent, which brings all the items up for one vote, or they can make a motion on any of the listed agenda items. Item A, from Peak Construction, change order deduction in the amount of $37,377.83 for phase 2 of the downtown facade revitalization project. Item B, from HR Green in the amount of $1,768 for water department GIS services. Item C, from HR Green in the amount of $400 for the wastewater or the water treatment plant disinfection system, CPS. Item D, HR Green in the amount of $844 for the Third Street Sidewalk Extension Project. Item E, from HR Green in the amount of $5,083 for Northland Subdivision Civil Site Plan Review. Item F, HR Green in the amount of $1,007.50 for professional services. Item G, from HR Green in the amount of $111,691.92 for phase 2 of the Second Street Lift Station Project. Item H, from Schneider and Associates in the amount of $6,142.92 for phase 2 of the Second Street Lift Station Project.
Yeah. HR Green doesn't have anything to do with that, do they?
Should be pierced.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Move to approve the consent.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Brooke. Council discussion.
Is that, Second Street project closed out?
Steve Agnes, Utility Superintendent. The only thing is we had the final walkthrough. They had a few things to fix. Just waiting on the word that they got those done. So.
Thank you.
Public comment? Penny, please conduct a roll vote.
Yes.
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 Motion carried. 8.0, City Administrators Report.
I don't have anything this evening.
9.0, Mayor and Council's reports. 9.1, Mayor's report. I will follow Jeremiah's lead, and I don't have anything. 9.2, Council reports.
Mamie's here June 8th. Get your tickets. You get awesome refreshments. In addition to a charming boat.
Thanks, Kay. Any others? 10.0, public comment for items not on the agenda.
Hello, Erin Rush, Library Director. So I just want to bring to your attention, if you look right over there, we now have a food pantry that is available 24/7. You can come bring food, or you can come pick up food or other items if you need. This idea was started by Laura Shover, and then the materials were donated by the Anamosa Decorating Center, and it was all put together by the Streets Department. So all of us were working on it. We really appreciate it and just excited to have this in our community. That's all.
Thank you. 11.0, closed session. 11.1, Motion to enter into closed session for Iowa State Code Section 21.5I to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered where necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that person's reputation, and that the individual has requested a closed session.
I'll make a motion to enter into closed session for Iowa State Code Section 21.5I.
Second. By Rich, second by Todd. So long since we've been in closed session, do we go to a